Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Carla Bodrins. I'm an artist here in Iowa City. I'm here today to introduce you to Art Office. Before I do that, though, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory to talk about the need out of which the idea for Art Office was born. Then I'm going to explain how the program works. And finally, I'm going to ask you for your support and input. So without further ado, let me tell you about where the idea for Art Office came from. So like I mentioned before, I'm an artist. And like most creative people, I would say that I need to be making things in the same way that I need to eat food. Being creative gives substance, meaning, and purpose to my life. It grounds me and frees me simultaneously. Basically, without creative expression, I would be empty, directionless, and unsatisfied in life. However, there's a lot more than creativity vying for my time. I've got my work life, social engagements, family obligations, my mental health and physical fitness, community involvement, continuing education, traveling, leisure, and the list goes on. And all of these are directly affected by my creative life, but they look very separate on my calendar. And the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Unfortunately, no matter how essential creative expression really is to me, it can often take a back seat to things that seem, more important in the moment. Of course, more often than not, they're actually not more important. They're just squeakier. So what happens to myself and many, many other artists is that we get bogged down with life and neglect our creative practices, which would, if we gave them more attention, actually lighten the rest of our load. So the problem here is mainly an issue of time management. I need to prioritize my art practice for my mental health, my general well-being, and also to make money. But for one reason or another, I simply struggle to. And I know I'm not alone. Over the years, I've talked with countless other creatives who share my experience to the T. And I think there is a simple reason for that. I believe that most of us simply aren't cut out to be our own bosses. In the art world, and especially if we're to believe Instagram, there's kind of this assumption that individual artists are supposed to have it all, to be able to do the work of our craft and manage our time and resources constantly and effectively. But I rarely meet an artist that this comes naturally to. And in fact, failing at it usually serves to cripple us even further. The fact is, when people like me go at it alone, we only have ourselves to look to for accountability, support, and motivation, which I would argue is as impossible as lifting yourself off the ground. We need each other for all kinds of reasons, but especially when it comes to commitment and responsibility, which is where Art Office comes in. Art Office is an accountability program designed to help artists work more effectively by implementing a regimen based on personal reflection, peer interconnection, and public engagement. Here's how it works. Each session runs for 12 weeks, with 3 sessions taking place per year. We're in our fall session right now. Currently, all meetings are virtual and happen over Zoom. Individual artists and creatives apply to the program through our website and are selected for membership based on diversity of practice and diversity in general. Sessions are usually made up of between 8 and 10 people, and a full session fee is only $45 at this time. Members, myself included, track and submit their work weekly, either by punching a time clock app or documenting our progress using internal worksheets, or both. We have an incentive program for members to take part in if they like. Basically, to encourage them to track their hours diligently, we offer paychecks, which are actually vouchers and can be used for discounts on future sessions, official art office merchandise, or cubicle studio rental at a future iteration of in a physical location. Every member is required to take 2 low-impact calisthenics breaks every workday. We can choose for ourselves exactly when and how we want to take these breaks. I've created an example sheet of stretches and exercises that some of us use on our website. Every Monday, we have a mandatory staff meeting where each member shares with the team their progress report, which details their accomplishments from the past week and goals for the week ahead. I open each meeting with a different conversation topic of the week based on our core values, and then give a simple related assignment to be completed by our next meeting. Throughout the week, we inspire and encourage each other by sharing and conversing on the social media platform Discord. Twice a week, we gather in Zoom to just do our work. This would be just like coming in for work at an office. We don't usually talk, we just log on and get to work. And every 4 weeks, we have a social hour to wind down and get to know each other a little better. To engage with the public, members participate in social media takeovers where they post about the art that they're currently working on, either process shots, inspiration, or something related to it. Every Wednesday, I interview one member on Instagram Live to talk about their projects and practice in general. And at the end of the 12 weeks, everyone is invited to show and or sell their work at our Session Finale Expo. Our event for the group that's currently in session will be in person, hosted by Big Grove Brewery in Iowa City on December 9th as part of their larger event, Holidays at the Grove. We're calling our part of it Art Office Holiday Art Market, and there will be alumni and other artists participating as well. So to summarize, the goal of Art Office is to help artists work more effectively. And this is a goal that we achieve because of those core values I mentioned earlier: personal reflection, peer interconnection, and public engagement. Tapped into and harnessed, I've been able to show over the past year and a half that these values foster a group atmosphere of responsibility and accountability, and they provide a framework within which individual artists can really flourish. So I hope it's clear to you now why Art Office is an idea worth supporting. If you're not an artist yourself, you may know someone who could benefit from the program. And that's what I'd like to ask for your help with today. If you'd like, I'd love for you to help me spread the word. It's a fact that Art Office helps artists in a huge way, but only if they know that we're here. We've come a long way since April of 2020 and worked with dozens of people now. My aim with Art Office is to keep helping more and more artists bring their own unique art into the world. And if you like the sound of that, I hope you will consider telling an artist you know about the program. You can visit our website for more information and follow us on social media. And with that, I am finished. And I wish that I had a little slide to show you the exact spelling of everything, but if you want to follow us on social, it's at Art Office Studios, and the website is artofficestudios.com. And that's it. So I guess I now can receive questions. Is that how it works?
Yeah, Carla, thank you so much. So yeah, wanted to open that up for any questions that folks have or comment based on the conversation.
Yeah, I'll kick things off here. I really love this idea. I think it's such a cool way to build community, and I could see a lot of different use cases. Like immediately I think of like entrepreneurs in general, not just like art artists and art entrepreneurs, but like how that journey can be very isolating, and like you really do need community to help you thrive and be accountable. So I could definitely see this kind of scaling in different ways. I guess my question is this a nonprofit that you've created, or what's the form of the the business here, you know?
It's not a nonprofit. I met with Public Space One's John and Kalmia. I met with them at the beginning when I first started, and I asked them basically for their advice. You know, would they recommend making it a nonprofit? And after meeting with them and really considering it, it just didn't seem like the structure that I wanted. And it didn't make much sense from my standpoint at the time. So it's not a nonprofit right now. I'm not closed off to that idea completely, but for right now, it just makes more sense to have it be sole proprietorship, basically.
Okay, cool. And are you hoping to make like revenue off of this, or is it more just the goal is to like create community and like have a positive experience in that way?
The goal initially, when I very first had the idea before COVID, it was to make it an actual physical office space and to have artists rent cubicles for art studios. That's why it's Art Office Studios. And so the idea that particular iteration would be a money-making venture. I would, you know, it would make the most sense in that way. Right now, it's not making, you know, money. Basically, what I'm charging for a session, $45 for the 12 weeks, is covering the bare bones expenses of running it, and so it's not making any money right now. But yeah, hopefully in the future it could.
That's great. And I think $45 seems like super reasonable. And I think you could probably charge more than that. You know, when I think of, and this is obviously very different, but like, you know, wellness programs or like kind of things around like mental health, yoga, whatever, like people are charging like, you know, $400 for like 4 weeks. So I know this is different and artists might have different, be in different financial situations, but $45 seems like a steal for this kind of program to me.
I have been thinking about how I could, you know, bring the fee up a bit, and still make it inclusive. And I did a fundraiser a couple months ago, on basically mostly on Instagram, and I raised a couple $1,000, and part of that was for scholarships. So that also is an idea that I'm thinking. I mean, that could, scholarships could cover, if I raise the price to join. I just want to make it inclusive. I want to make it something that you know, doesn't turn people away at the initial look of the price. So yeah, I'm still kind of toying around with that idea. Thank you so much for your comments, though. And your questions. Thanks a lot.
Carla, this is Matt. A question I have is, I'm kind of curious on, as this is rolling out, what surprises there's been for you, like from what your initial vision was to almost like either like kind of new things that you've learned or surprises along the way, and those could be positive or negative.
Well, gosh, that's a great question. So, there have been a lot of changes, based on things that I didn't expect. They weren't necessarily, you know, surprising, but like I learned, you know, that most people who are going to be interested in this kind of a program either have day jobs or have you know, families that are taking up their time during the day. So initially the meetings were in the morning, and now most of them are in the evening to accommodate for that. So that's one thing that that was, yeah, just an accommodation thing. I've also been surprised and delighted by just how well it caught on, how well the idea caught on. What people seem to get it and be supportive of it. To be honest, it was an idea that I had, that I thought maybe it was just me, and that you know, I mean, I had talked to a lot of other artists who had had the same problems that I had, but I really didn't know if other people would be receptive to this kind of like regimented, you know, structure, especially artists who are notoriously, you know, not structured. and yeah, I've just been really delighted by how people are catching on and like really going with the idea.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
My name is Micah Colbert. I'm out here in Muscatine, Iowa. So I like to log in, and hopefully someday we'll be able to meet in person. I always drink a cup of coffee during this time. So, but there is an art studio here in Muscatine. I'm actually friends with the owner, Santos Bueno. But you know, he's got a little art studio, and it sounds like what you originally had in mind was to have a creative space for people to come in and be able to do art. So that really kind of piqued my interest in your story. So thanks for sharing that. What scope of help are you trying to give? And when I ask that, I know that there are organizations out there that are larger in size, if you will. So the studio here in town has 2 partners. Okay. So Santos has a partner, if you will. And I know that there are even larger art studios. Now, do you think that your program or your assistance would be able to help a larger size organization? Or do you think it's really focused toward the beginner, the starter, the solo artist? Really, what's your scope of your target audience?
Right now, my target audience is any individual who wants to get more out of their creative life, you know, to be more creative in some way. And yeah, I haven't actually even considered, you know, making it available to larger kind of groups or anything above just the individual artist. I guess yeah, my main focus has been the individual artist. The idea to occupy a physical space obviously would make it available to a lot more people. Well, hopefully, depending on the size of the space, would hopefully make it available to more people. And right now, each session, you know, has about 8 or 10 people in it. And that's about all that I can handle as far as, you know, managing and doing the weekly assignments and writing paychecks and like doing all of the admin stuff for on that end. That's about all that I can handle. But, you know, it's possible in a future physical location that I could open that up and have like a hire someone else to do a part-time, you know, manage another team, and so do another simultaneous session. So incrementally, I'm imagining that it could grow. But as far as right now, yeah, I think I'm mainly focused on like the individual artist. Does that answer your question, Micah?
Yeah, I think so. So for example, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. So because I know a ton of people, so it's kind of the thought of, hey, who can I introduce you to, or who can I get you an introduction to that would make sense, right? For example, correct me if I'm wrong here. What if I know someone who enjoys to knit, right? So they knit or they crochet, and they're looking to possibly create a business. They'd like to maybe not sell product, but sell patterns. So you would be able to step in and help them finalize the way that they would want to sell patterns online. Is that kind of correct, or am I missing the bar here?
Yeah, no, well, what Art Office does is hold the individual artists accountable to what they, want to do. And so, yeah, if we've had a fiber artist in the group, and we've had musicians. Actually, Ellie Hoffmeyer is here. She's a member of the current session. She's a musician. We've had artists and composers. I mean, musicians, composers, and poets. All kinds of different people in creative outlets. And what they, what you do is you bring your own goals to the session, and you say, this is what I want to do. I'm a fiber artist. I want to make a business out of making patterns. And you tell everyone, like, these are my goals for the entire session. These are my goals for the week. And then, we check in every week and see where we're at, and share, what we're doing online. So it's an active way of holding each other accountable and holding yourself accountable to that goal. I feel like I'm kind of dancing around your question. I'm sorry.
No, that I don't necessarily have a specific, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a specific answer to what I'm asking. So it is very broad kind of conversation, but I would be interested in having a conversation with Santos here in town, just to kind of see what his thoughts are. What's the best way to get you an introduction if he wants to talk to you?
Yeah. Let's see. Can I? Thank you, Matt, for putting the website in there. I can put. Yep. I'll put my email address in here also.
Okay.
Into the chat.
Yeah. Thank you, Micah and Carla. I'm curious. And this might be a question too for Ellie, but as you're bringing these different artists together, in addition to the accountability component, right? I'm kind of curious if other artists have taken inspiration from another media or another, kind of artistic vision that somebody's had to influence their work. To me, it just seems like there could be some really interesting collisions of community there, and was curious if you've seen that happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. So one aspect that we don't do is, we don't force collaboration by any means. There's no expectation that you're going to be inspired by or collaborate with anyone else in the group. It's just, you're purely there to hold each other accountable. But yeah, you can't help but be inspired by people's work, definitely. And I am currently, another member of the current group is actually my sister, and she is a creative writer, and she wrote a poem, and I am illustrating a broadside for it. So that's one way. I mean, it just it naturally kind of came up, and we're just gonna run with it. I am curious if Ellie has any if she has been inspired by the rest of us. I'm sure. I mean, we share of our own creative things. We share them with each other through Discord, and we follow each other on Instagram, and like are keeping up with each other for sure. Ellie, do you by chance want to chime in?
I'll chime in. I would say even more than like meeting potential collaborators, but just hearing how other artists approach their creative process has been really interesting. Like, I think in one of the last couple of meetings, I like let the group know how interesting it is, how much they plan everything out before they do it, because I never do that. And I'm kind of taking note of how that works for them. And like maybe I can adapt actual planning and like visioning things before I start doing things, how that maybe could help me. So that's just one example. So, and I mean, I never heard of the term Dadaism until I was in this group, and now I'm super interested in, I don't know, different philosophies about art and stuff too. So yeah, that intellect exchange is really exciting for me.
Thank you so much. That was unexpected and delightful. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Wanted to see, are there any other questions from guests today?
I have comments. Carla, hi, Ricardo here with PS1. So I love this. Someone was telling me about Art Office a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I should know them, but like I don't know them. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad to hear about this. I think it's great. An accountability program for artists. I wish this was around years ago. So I think it's amazing. I think, it takes a special type of artist who is self-aware enough to be like, okay, I need this to move up to the next level or to improve my practice. So thank you for doing this. My comments are, having the physical studio space is great. I would totally be down for that, but I think you have a pretty open, you have a lot more options doing it virtually because you can get artists from all over the world versus just wherever the studio is. So, I would encourage you to keep that open. Obviously, you have limited capacity because it's just you, but if this keeps growing, why not, right? And, as an accountability program, people can work from home and still have the support system virtually. So I think that's great. I've been browsing through your website. I love the way it's explained. I had a suggestion you might consider, and I don't know if it is written here somewhere, but maybe consider marketing this as a solution for artist block, whatever your medium is, because that is what it is. It's gonna make you do the work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. We should talk more later. So great job.
Thank you so much. And that's so interesting that you would say that about Artist Block, because actually I did a presentation on Art Office. Gosh, I've done a few and I can't remember which one it was for, but I did a presentation a while back for Art Office, and that's exactly the approach that I took. I marketed it as the cure for artist block, and I thought about it, and I thought that it made a lot of sense, and it was like I thought it was a good marketing strategy. But then afterward, someone commented that it was I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but that it was a kind of a negative, something about it was negative, and they were like, you should instead market it as something positive, like instead of like putting the problem in people's face, put the answer in people's face. And so then I thought, well, okay, then I guess instead of saying like, because if it's marketed as a solution to artist block, then you are saying to the people who might be interested in your program that they have a problem, if that makes sense. And if you market it as it is a program that will simply help you do more, then you're not calling anyone out for having a problem. So that's the only reason that I stepped away from that analogy. And it still makes like more sense to me to call it a solution, but I thought maybe I would try a different tack.
And I'm not. Oh, sorry. Were you?
No, go ahead.
I'm not a marketing guru, right? So I totally agree with that. I was gonna say cure, but then I was like, no, cure is the word that's bad for me, right? So I said solution, and that makes sense what the marketing gurus are saying, but that's the buzzword. And when I said that some artists need, that it takes a special artist to be self-aware enough to say, okay, I need this. Like I just suggested that as because the artist block is the buzzword. Most artists know that. Whereas someone who might be ideal for your program, but they don't know it yet, they don't know, they don't think in terms of, okay, accountability, discipline, like reference groups and masterminds, like, so, just cast a wider net.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, okay, maybe that'll help. But
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and I waffle between marketing strategies, so I'll probably use it again. But thank you so much for those comments. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that.
yes, I love this program. I think I'm going to join because I could use a boost on my practice too. So, and I'm the type of person who likes structure and like some things I need to like have an accountability group, right? So this is one of them. I'm glad this is here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So I was wondering how do you grow? How does this idea, this business grow? Because right now it's kind of you doing the thing. What is your plan for the growth of Art Office?
Yeah, well, the short answer is I don't know. I think about it a lot, and I haven't quite landed on a path yet, a path forward. What the thing that makes the most sense to me is that I need to make some money. I need to make some money in order to pay someone to lead another group at the same time, because that would be, the goal is to just have more groups, more sessions going on at the same time. So in order to make money, I can either charge more for the sessions, which I could do, but it's just a tricky thing. I don't know, because the program is so simple. It's really a simple program. Its structure is it makes it's very simple. So I don't feel comfortable charging a whole lot of money for it, even though it's innovative and like I'd never heard of anything like it before. So I just have a hard time thinking about charging more for it, even though it does take up a lot of my time. But anyway, so yeah, I could charge more, or I could rent out. I could move into a physical location and rent out studio space, and that could cover the cost to hire someone to lead more groups. And that takes capital too. So I'm in a kind of a little bit of a limbo stage right now. If anyone has any suggestions or comments on that, I'm all ears.
I was going to say,
Actually, sorry, Jay. You can go ahead.
Okay, because I was just going to say, rather than hiring someone, has there been anyone from any of your cohorts who would be interested in partnering with you, or you'd be interested in partnering with them? Because then, like, if you brought on a co-founder, then that wouldn't involve paying them. I mean, you'd want to give up part of the company, but it might be one workaround, and then you could expand it, and you'd be making more money off of it. But That would be the tact I'd use, but I mean, it's completely up to you. And Liz, I'm
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. Um, so my immediate thought is, I think like scaling could be interesting, but maybe starting on like a either regional or statewide level. And I think maintaining this kind of virtual option would be good for that scaling ability. And I wonder if an organization like the Iowa Arts Council might be interested in helping funding it through grants, because that would be, going towards their goal of like creating more artists in the state of Iowa and empowering them and creating a community across the state. So that's something that I would maybe recommend looking into. And then you could maybe partner with like, what is it, the Mainframe Studios in Des Moines, like they could have their own kind of chapter there. Iowa City could have its own chapter. I can't remember where Micah said he was from, Cedar Falls or somewhere. But you could kind of have little pockets. So you could do the larger
I'm
scale
in
virtually,
Muscatine over
but
here.
also have, okay, Muscatine, sorry. You could do a larger scale across the state virtually, but then have that little community in different pockets throughout the state of Iowa too. I think that would be really an interesting way to look at it. And I think there's just so much money right now, especially to support kind of creative endeavors with the COVID recovery funds. So I think this could be a really interesting thing that people would want to support.
I have actually, to be honest, I've never applied for a grant before. And so that's just one area that I have never even considered, really, realistically, but I absolutely would be interested in doing that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot of money to be had for the art scene here. So I need to hop on that.
I know it can be a little annoying doing that, but I think it's such a good option right now, especially if you want to like figure out how you could potentially monetize it later, at least like starting out with a little bit of kind of seed money of sorts, and then figuring that out. And you could maybe do to scale it like a train the trainer kind of thing. Like you have to go through the program, and then you have the option to become a team lead or whatever for your community.
Yeah, that I definitely I would, because I know what it takes to run, a group. It makes me nervous to like have anyone. I would want to pay someone to run it, because it does take up some headspace. So yeah, I definitely, that if I had some grant money, that would be doable. And yeah, I love that. Thank you, Liz. This is all such good info. I really appreciate it.
Wanted to see if there were any other comments or questions.
I have another comment, and sorry if this is already on your website, but back to your fee, I agree with several people here. It could be higher, but with that in mind, if it doesn't feel right to just increase it, maybe add supplemental perks to the program. And one thing that came to mind was like coaching or references for how to market yourself as an artist, because obviously the people who are entering this program are wanting to grow. So maybe one aspect that is not necessarily creative but beneficial to an artist would be, how to get gigs, how to like survive off of your practice and your artwork. So, something to consider there, connecting them with resources or having a session specifically on that might be something to throw in there.
Yeah, I didn't mention this in the presentation. I completely spaced on it, but I, as part of the fundraiser that I had recently, one thing that I was raising money for was guest speakers, like people to come in and do those kinds of talks. So that is a perk that is going to be coming up in the next session. So you're absolutely right. I could definitely stand to raise the fee based solely on that, because that's a great perk. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, and then Carla, we usually end with like, how can we help you? I know we've been talking about that kind of, but just wanted to make sure. Was there anything else, kind of from an explicit ask, that you might have on how the community could help you?
If you know an artist who maybe complains about like not being able to get to the drawing board as much as they would want, or complains in general, maybe tell them about Art Office. Just say, hey, I heard about this thing that you might be interested in, and I wish I could give you all cards, but yeah, just point them in the direction of Art Office. And if you want to, you could follow us on social media, just on Instagram, basically, is where we are most active. And yeah, I guess that would be it.